Now these are the two flies I'm going to be tying. As you can see, they're just Pheasant Tail Nymphs. Now I get asked a lot about the Pheasant Tail Nymph. There's hardly a week goes by. Now these are the two main flies that I would tie as to represent by the pheasant tail. Basically this one here, this is the version I use in the loss, especially for midge. And this one here was the original one I tied for the river. They're Sawyer's Pheasant Tail Nymphs. You can't get away from it. They're tied with the copper wire. And I would probably say I've got more fish in these flies than any other fly that I've tied. And it's the simplest fly. Now these can be tied in a minute. Once you get going, you can tie them really quick. Now the wire I'm using, this is just an extra small copper wire. Now I've got it in a big spool, now which I got a while ago. There's no numbers on it or no letters or nothing on it to tell me the gauge of the wire, but it's classed really, if you've ever used the UTC extra small wire, this is exactly the same thickness, so it's the next thing to it, so that'll give you an idea what to get. Now the hook, it's up to yourself what hook you want to use. This is a standard wet fly hook, it's a size 14. Now as I say, very simple to tie. Just basically, the one for the lock I like, start at the eye. You can control the thread turns by basically keeping the waist piece tight. Now the waist piece is going to be your rib, so don't take it off. But just wind and let till basically the point just before we get around the bend. With our pheasant tail, just your standard pheasant tail, cock pheasant tail, just in brown. Now you're looking for around about, I usually like a few fibres, so you're around about 8 to 10 fibres anyway. Just bring it 90 degrees from the stem and the tips will line up. Tear that off. Now you don't want the tail too long. You want it round about, I would say, no more than the body length. Just a couple of turns, to catch it in on top. Always keeping it tight, and then you continue up to basically the beginning of the thorax. Now I normally basically protect the fly by just putting a wee coat of varnish or super glue on the wire before I wind up the pheasant tail. Now I'm winding the pheasant tail the opposite way I actually wind my rib on and my wire. So I'm going to counter rib the pheasant tail fibre to protect it. So we wind it up to the beginning of the thorax. The super glue will hold it, so you just come over with a turn, which will hold it fine, and then bring your rib up. So you'll need about 4 to 5 turns. Once you get to your beginning of your thorax and your pheasant tail, just catch it in. Encourage everything to go on top. Now what I do is just continue up to the eye, all the way up, and then I just build up the thorax, especially up at this end here, because I'm going to tie off at the beginning of the thorax rather than up at the head. So I want to form a sort of wing buds with the pheasant tail fibre at the back. So once I'm happy with the thickness, I just fold it back. So my wires here, beginning the thorax, I just then rub the pheasant tail with my nail. That'll flatten it or spread it out. I'll just show you. Just spreads it out. We do a turn to hold, just one turn, and then we do 1, 2, 3 turn, finish. Tighten it up, and then, as I say, the reason I like doing this because I want to form wing buds with the fibre. Just trim it about 1.5 mils or so from where you've tied off, and there we are. Simple fly. I mean, this will work in the river as much as it will work in the loss, but this is the one I normally fished or tied for the fishery. And then all you have to do is finish it off. A wee bit of varnish onto the thorax, the underside only. Just under there, let it soak in. You could touch just where the wire is, slightly. There we are. And that will last. I mean, you'll get a few fish out of that before it starts to wear out. Now that's the basic, as I say, the one I was using the locks. The other one's like this one here. This is it here. It's more like the the Sawyer's Pheasant Tail than any. And it's tied very similar in a way, but I'll show you it's quite easy. We basically, it's the same hook, size 14. Again, we start, but this time what I'm going to do is leave a good space at the head. So that's nothing on there at all, because this is where you want to whip finish or tie off. So then again, we control the turns. If you want to build up the thorax a wee bit, you can gut them back down just to get a better shape. And then continue down to the bend at this point here. And then we tie in our tail, so we bring out round about, as again, about 8, the same number of fibres, about 8 or so. Don't be shy. Once the tips have lined up, tear it away. Tail length, you're round about, say, short of the body length, which is 2/3 of the hook. So I usually offer it on my side, come down with a couple of turns, see the tail, and spread it a wee bit, and then lift it out of the way and bring your wire up, all the way up, this time all the way up to where we caught it in at the top, just basically the head length away from the eye. Again, a wee touch of varnish or super glue, just lasts longer if you do that. Wind the pheasant tail fibre the opposite way. So wind it up. So say we're going to wind all the way up to this point here. Come over with a turn. This time I'm going to do a turn on top just to make sure it's not going to move. Then I'm going to bring the rib up. So we go 1, 2, into the third turn, which should basically put it in the centre. But basically what we do then is bring the pheasant tail, the waist ends, to this point and on top. Catch it in, it's going to show you where it is. There, and then we continue up, like we're ribbing the whole of the fly up to the eye. We catch this in with turn. To bring this over, we catch this in with a turn as well. Just to see where we are, just check. If we're happy we can do another turn or so. And then what I like to do is trim these away, and then we go straight in and whip finish. And we're heading down the way, down towards the eye, and then take it through. And then again, all I'm doing is pushing the wire, making sure it's tightening up and pulling at this wire at the same time. When we're happy, I put my nail up against it, and bend and break it off. Gives you a neat cut when you do that. And there we are. And then what we want to do is varnish the head. All the way around. It's a very simple nymph. Basically what it shows is a profile, a shape, a perfect nymph type shape. And then that's it. That's your basic pheasant tail, Sawyer's style pheasant tail nymph. Now, you can tie these any colour, obviously natural brown's one of the most popular. You can, dyed, the brown dyed yellow is good, olive, you name whatever colour of fly that you have. It's a very simple dressing. You get a nice shape anyway. So basically that's the two patterns that I tie a pheasant tail. There's one here that's lying on my desk. And there we are. The one I use for the lochs and the one I use for the river. But both will work in the river and as well on the lochs. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoy the videos, please subscribe. It does help, and thank you for watching.